And I'll tell you, I'm tweeting out tonight
Mhm.
a timeline, a detailed timeline that is worth looking at. It's worth printing out. I'll be tweeting it from @TedCruz. But I'll say you should see the timeline and also that video. If you haven't watched the video of Joe Biden bragging about getting this prosecutor fired, you need to watch the video because the news does not want to show that video.
It's even worse than that because I hadn't really looked over this case in a while, all of the details about it, all of the videos, all of the timeline. What the mainstream media and what the House Democrats are telling us is that this allegation of corruption in the Bidens and Burisma has been debunked.
Frivolous, a sham. Let me walk through the timeline quickly. I'm going to go back through it, but it's worth seeing these dates one after another.
I encourage you to do that because it's so many names, it's so many dates. It's like all things that are corrupt, it's so confusing. I think what the House Democrats are relying on is how confusing the whole thing is so that we don't pay attention to it, so we ignore the corruption.
So it starts early 2014. Joe Biden is the point person for President Obama on Ukraine. April 13th, 2014, Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's business partner, joins the board of Burisma. April 28th, Britain's serious fraud unit freezes $23 million for money laundering from the oligarch who founded Burisma. May 12th, just a couple of weeks later, Hunter Biden is named to the board of Burisma. December 8th, the New York Times article says that the prosecutor general, Victor Shokin, is investigating Burisma Holdings and the oligarch in charge.
Victor Shokin, this is the prosecutor that Joe Biden is going to wind up getting fired.
Right, and that House Democrats spent all day long attacking relentlessly today. Here's one, and we didn't mention this before. February 2nd, 2016, the oligarch's home is raided and his assets are seized. This is February 2nd. Joe Biden calls the president of Ukraine on February 11th, February 18th, and February 19th. So 3 calls a little over a week after the oligarch's home is raided and his assets are seized. February 21st, Burisma's lobbyist contacts the State Department and says, hey, we want a meeting with the Deputy Secretary of State. And by the way, did I mention Hunter Biden's on our board? This is in writing.
So just to pause for a moment, what it sounds like here from all the Joe Biden phone calls, we're talking about the waning days here of the administration. What this sounds like to me is desperation.
So Devin Archer, March 2nd, a week later, Devin Archer sits down and meets with John Kerry, the Secretary of State.
Okay.
This is the other board member. Then on March 15th, the Assistant Secretary of State calls for the prosecutor to be fired. Then on March 22nd, during a call with President Poroshenko, Vice President Biden calls for the prosecutor to be fired.
So you've got a guy who's on Burisma's board.
Two guys on the board.
Two guys on the board. You've got
making millions of dollars.
They then meet with the Obama administration. And then all of a sudden you get people in the administration calling for the prosecutor who's investigating Burisma to be fired.
And then on March 31st, Biden arrives in Ukraine. He's there personally. And he releases $1 billion in loan guarantees because the week earlier they had fired the prosecutors as he demanded.
You get the quid pro quo.
He delivers on it
phrase.
Entirely. Now look, let me be clear. Do I know for a fact that Joe Biden was corrupt and in on the corruption? No. You know